This video will show you how to develop torso rotation so that you can have an effective high brace and a roll that you can count on. If you don't rotate enough, you will be fighting to keep your kayak from pushing you under, your paddle will have a tendency to dive, and you will not feel in control. So if you don't have the confidence to roll up in any conditions you find yourself in, you need to develop your flexibility and use torso rotation. Learning to do a reliable roll will be much easier, and it will not take months or years of practicing. Just do the exercise at the end of this video for 2 minutes a day. If you have taken rolling lessons before, or you have watched rolling videos, you probably learned to move your body in a C to C movement. I'm not sure where this came from. It may be a good way to roll in the river, or your main objective is keeping your head away from the rocks. This tutorial is focused on rolling with the least effort. The aim is to give you an easy to learn and very powerful roll that you can do again and again without getting tired. A roll that doesn't rely on coordination, and that can be done even if you're cold, tired, and hungry. That's the kind of skill that will get you home after you encounter violent conditions at sea. Let's look at why we want to rotate the torso. Rolling is basically taking the weight of your body off the kayak while you rotate it, and then putting your weight back on top. If you tried to roll up without moving your body, you would have to lift your whole weight, and that would be really hard. The more flexibility you have, the more forgiving the roll will be. The easier it will be to learn because you don't have to be precise with your movement. You don't need coordination. When you don't rotate your torso, you have about this much freedom of movement. If you rotate your torso, you increase the range of motion to something like this. When you're in rough conditions and you don't know where the next wave will hit you, that extra range of motion will make the difference between rolling up or falling back underwater. The extra movement will also allow you to push the kayak to the point where it wants to turn upright. It only takes a little more flexibility, but there's a huge difference between a kayak that is pushing your head underwater and one that is letting you float to the surface and breathe. Another reason to rotate your torso is to present your back to the water. It's like having a very large paddle for bracing. If you develop the habit of rotating before your back hits the water, you'll have a very powerful high brace, and rolling up will be easy. Rotating the torso also helps keep the paddle near the surface of the water. All you have to do is hold the paddle on your chest. No thinking required here. Hold it against your chest and just focus on doing the roll with your body. If you don't rotate enough, your paddle will likely end up deep, and it won't give you much support when you try to recover. When I tell someone to rotate their torso, I usually get something like this. The shoulders move a bit. To get this much rotation, you have to start at the hips. First, make sure your foot pegs are not too tight. You should be able to rotate your hips fully. You also need to have good thigh braces. You need to feel comfortable shifting your hips. You don't want to feel like you have to be stiff to stay in the kayak. If you feel like you might fall out when you rotate your hips, you need to add some padding until you feel confident that you won't accidentally fall out of your kayak. Next, you need to make sure your spray skirt is not limiting your mobility. You don't want to have to stretch neoprene, and you don't want to worry about a skirt coming off the combing if you rotate too much. A lot of people choose to wear a tunic, partly for those reasons. A good tunic will give you complete freedom of movement. It will also keep your head warm and dry while you're practicing your rolls. This makes it a lot more likely that you'll practice often, maybe even every time you go kayaking. And that's when you really start to gain confidence and feel at home in the rougher water. If you want a tunic that keeps you comfortable while paddling and gives you the freedom of movement to roll well, my own design here will work well for you. It's made of a breathable fabric so you can paddle hard. It is roomy enough to allow you to adjust your clothing even for the coldest days, and you will stay warm and dry even on a cold, windy day. It is made for being comfortable while kayaking, and also to give you the freedom to stop and do some rolls just for the fun of it, without getting cold or getting your hair wet. Whatever you decide to wear, make sure you have something that gives you freedom of movement and keeps your head warm. It's pretty hard to learn a roll when you're distracted by the shock of cold water hitting your head. The next video will be about practicing underwater, so make sure you have the gear for it. Once you have clothing that doesn't limit you, it's pretty easy. Just rotate starting from your hips, and keep rotating your back and shoulders until your back can lay flat on the water in that right angle to the kayak, or as close to it as you can. Here's an exercise that will help you develop that flexibility. Lay on the floor with a towel around one of your feet. Cross your feet. Focus on rotating your hips and stretching until your back is flat on the floor and your body is at a 90-degree angle to your legs. Keep making some effort to rotate your hips. This will strengthen the muscles and also give you muscle memory so that you don't have to think about it when you're on the water. Hold the position for 30 seconds and focus on how it feels. Then do the other side. What you learn here is pretty basic. Maybe you're not excited about doing some stretches and you just want to skip this part and just roll. Unfortunately, if you do that, you will probably get sloppy and end up practicing some bad habits. Those who have really mastered the roll have mastered this important step of rotating fully. And if you get this right, you're halfway to feeling confident that you can roll up even in rough water. And you don't even have to be on the water to practice it. Do this for a week, and the next time you get on the water and do a roll, you will see the difference. That easy. The next video will show you how to practice on the water. We will start slow and keep it easy. If you have never done a roll before, you will do one after watching that video. I would love to hear your thoughts, so if you'd like to share, please leave a comment below. And if you're finding this tutorial useful, please share it with your friends. And I'll see you in the next video.